Hello everybody and welcome to another Uniko video with me, Bev, the owner and designer of all things Uniko. I thought I'd pop in and share another idea using the Layering Bauhaus Christmas Block Stencil. You might remember this card and the video that I did a while back. It was quite a lengthy video and quite time consuming, but the results were worth it. But I did mention another idea during the video that I had, so I thought I would share it. I have actually got another idea as well that is all along the lines of this one. Still a little bit sort of longer than the one I'm sharing today, so I thought I'll save that one for when I'm back from my holidays. So I thought I'd do this one now and get this little idea out in the way, in the ether. I think I've done something similar before using the original stencil. I believe the sample that I did using the original is on one of my sample boards, so I will find that one day and share it again. But I thought, well, I'll have a look in my dies and see if I have an inch square die. Well, this one's a little bit bigger. It's from the Stitch Shapes framelit dies from Stampin' Up. I've had them absolutely donkeys. They sit and they come out now and then. Well, this square, the actual die cut is a little bit bigger than an inch, but the stitching is an inch square. So I went ahead and I've pre-cut my card and I pre-cut some squares. Now I'm only going to use 3, but I cut 4 just in case I mess up. And then obviously I've got the stencils, the 3 layers. So I'm just going to bring in my magnetic board, just give it a little bit of a clean, as I didn't do that before I came on the video. And of course I don't have a tea towel with me, but it'll dry. So I've got my magnetic board, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the temporary adhesive, the stick adhesive, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of my square. Now, I think before, when I did this idea with the original stencil, I didn't die cut my squares. I just trimmed them to size. So obviously I want to make a Christmas card, so I am going to use the more Christmassy icons from the stencil. Obviously there are some shapes in there as well, so I'm going to use the Christmas tree. Now you can see here that there is a little bit of you can see the other shape underneath. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this off a second, and I'm actually going to put this bit of paper, it's just a bit of scrap paper, you can see I've used it for masking before, and I'm just going to pop that down, and then I'm going to put my stencil down, and then I won't get any ink where I don't want it to be. And I'm just lining up the sort of corners of the square below the Christmas tree with the stitching, and then I'll put my magnets down. I'll move this magnet carefully and just put it in place. Now I haven't chosen any of my colours yet, so I'm going to use the Christmas tree. I'm going to use the Santa, and I'm going to use the gift, because to me them 3 really scream Christmas. So I'm going to stick fairly sort of traditional. So I've got my parsley and my evergreen ink, 2 of my sort of go-to greens for Christmas. Now just find a couple of blending brushes. So I'm going to start off with the parsley. So I say it's a quicker idea, but as you can see, it does need a little bit of prep. Well, actually, I could have used the holly as well, but I'm doing the Christmas tree. I'll do another variation at some point, I'm sure. So I'm just going to put that magnet just to keep my piece of paper in place, and then we'll go to the other layer to do the other half of the Christmas tree. And again, this is quite easier, much easier to line up because I've already done one half of the Christmas tree. I might do the holly. I haven't decided. See, I have an idea and then I end up changing my mind or seeing the other things. So we'll do all four and then we'll decide which layout looks best. Because balance of colours might be another reason. So we've done one and we'll see how that looks. Now that is pretty neat and nifty. So we'll put that one to one side. So we've done the Christmas tree. And we'll go to the next one. So it's a good job I did die cut 4 squares so we can make a decision. Do you find that you have an idea and then you come to make it and then plans change? So I'm just wiping off the stencils here just so they're nice and dry for when we come to do it. So this one I'm doing the Santa. So in here, obviously I need to mask off along the edge, along here, on this stitching. So I'll just use these couple of magnets. This one is a little bit trickier. I don't want the hollyberry. I need another little bit of masking paper at the top. So I don't want the hollyberry peeking over, because there is this little bit of border on the die cuts. It makes it a little bit trickier. Not too bad, but just getting it placed nicely. So we want the Santa to be able to fit in like so. So that should be okay. So I say it's a quicker card, but probably isn't when it comes to it. But never mind. It will be quicker than the patchwork for sure. I can guarantee that, because that card did take an hour. I know I was doing it in a video as well. I've messed up a little bit there with my inking. Hopefully it won't show too badly. Do you know, I should have started with this layer of the Santa, because I can place it right inside the stitching. So I should have looked at my layers better when I came to doing this icon, but never mind. So hopefully it will hide where I've messed up my inking a little bit. It should hide with a background. So I'm going to use Peacock to hopefully hide it a little bit. And we'll see how it turns out. Obviously we learn from our mistakes. I think this must be the drier of the peacocks. Let's get the other one. So while I've got this layer out as well, what I normally do is the black for the eyes and the face. So I will do that while I've got the layer there. Hopefully it won't smudge too much. And I might actually, I'll see what it looks like when I lift it over. No, I will do his face because it defines the bubble a little bit better. So what I might actually do is set this one aside to dry a little bit. So that's not too bad, but you see how if I didn't do the third layer you wouldn't really see his bubble as much, but you could if you wanted to, and it wouldn't define like where his white beard is. So I am just going to let him dry a little bit because the black does smudge quite easily. So we will just set him aside, but he's coming together quite nicely. So I should have done the black last. Another learning curve there. So we'll go to the next one, and I'm going to do the holly on this one. And so placing it down, I'm going to have to mask off just at the bottom so we don't get the top of Santa's hat. Or I should say the square surrounding Santa. I'm going to go up just a touch. Put the magnets down. Now I'm going to go in with the parsley colour. First, as it's the lighter colour. Then I am going to do the other leaf in evergreen to match the Christmas tree, because I've done that two-tone. So I'll use this little bit of masking paper. It's just normal printer paper. And we'll just ink over like so. And then we can do the berry. So I need to keep that bit of masking there. Just clean this. And we've got the berry. So getting the position in. So I need a bit of masking paper again, just along that edge. So it is a little bit faffier than I originally thought. So if you did your squares exactly 1 inch without the border, it would be a lot easier. But then it just means, you know, I didn't have any other die that cuts out an inch square. So if you actually just trim them to 1 inch square yourself using your paper trimmer, it'd probably be a lot easier, a lot less masking. But I think the stitch edge just gives a little bit of interest and detail. Oh, see, look, I've messed up. I didn't mask off properly on that one, so we might put that one to one side. We'll use we'll see how these turn out. So this one should be a little bit easier, so I was going to use the gift. So if we wanted to match colours, like I was saying before, I will just use the 2 greens for this one. So that would have looked lovely if I'd masked it off properly. Maybe next time I actually need to use some like actual tape to tape it off, rather than just rely on my masking paper. So we will do, I'm going to do parsley and evergreen for this one. Just, I wanted to balance out the colours a little bit. So this one is a little bit easier because the square is sort of on its own at the bottom. So do the parsley, and then I'm going to do the ribbon bit in the evergreen. So the ribbon's on this layer. And again, so I am going to use, I've got some mint tape. So I am going to mask it off properly. Like so. Let's have a look. I'm going to put another piece just down that edge, as we don't want to mess up again. And I might actually put another bit down that side as well, just to be safe. Like so. And then we can place, oh, picked up the Christmas tree, and we can place the ribbon. So you can see there that on my parcel layer, one of the sort of like masks from where the ribbon goes, it was poking up a little bit. So partly probably my inking as well, but luckily I've chosen to go over with the darker colour, that it should hide where that parsley came through a little bit with my poor blending, and where part of the stencil has lifted up a little bit. So although the stencils are really super durable, you just need to be a little bit careful on these sort of more moving parts. See, that one's just lifted up. You can bend them back into place a little bit. It's probably just moved slightly on cleaning. Sometimes they get caught, even though I try and use these microfiber cloths that shouldn't catch. Sometimes they do, so just to be aware and a little bit more careful. So that's come out nicely. So we'll go back to Santa, and hopefully his eyes will have dried now. And when I come to do his face, it won't smudge too badly. Because if you see here, when you place his face over the top, I'll be going over the red and the black. So I'm going to put a piece of masking tape down there, just where the edge of the triangles goes. And we'll put him in place, and I'll use my usual go-to colour, which is Nectar, when I'm doing the Santa. Hopefully, as I say, hopefully he won't smudge too much. He is smudging a little bit, so I'm not going to add too much there. It's smudged a little bit. It's another learning lesson. Do your face before you do the eyes. But he still looks pretty cool. So now I'm going to put the card together. We can faff on of that a little bit when we come to do the card. So we're going to assemble the card. Shame about the holly leaves, but never mind. We don't want too much smudge. So I'm going to bring in my layer here. And I am going to find the center. So 6.5. Just so I can centralize my middle inchy icon. So I'm going to put Santa in the middle. Now I'm going to go up a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, and then I'm going to do these either side, like so. And then I want to leave space for my sentiment, so I've got Christmas sentiments out, as that's back in stock. And I'm going to go easy and just use Season's Greetings. Now, when I come to sort of like centralising sentiments, I always try and work out roughly the length of them. So I'm looking here in the corner, so the edge of the G in Greetings is going to be roughly the centre of the sentiment when I stamp it. So I haven't secured my inches down yet, because I'm going to stamp the sentiment first, and then we can come to sort of like getting the placement right. Sort of like the that's grey, that's not black. I want my sentiment to be black. My desk is getting a bit chaotic. Nice tidy up after this video. So I'm going to do this. So the edge of the G is roughly where the middle of the sentiment is. And I placed the my card layer along this sort of central line on my grid paper. I need to get some more grid paper when I get back from my holiday. So that's why I keep reusing this piece, but then it's not too busy with stamp offs and stuff. Sometimes it gets a little bit more chaotic. And then we're going to use some foam tape to put to adhere these inches, and I'm just putting a few little squares of these foam tapes and just peel the back. So we'll start off in the center. I'm not sure if I've got any white enamel dots. I can't remember. I think I've got some poppy ones, so we could add a poppy enamel dot to Santa's nose. Oh, these dot backs of these squares are a little bit trickier today than they normally are. So we're going to go So I'm sort of like trying to get an even sort of space between the top of the square and above the sentiment. And then we'll add these both sides. Gosh, it's noisy today around the estate. There's been dogs, there's been someone playing their drums. That's nothing normal. He plays his drums pretty much every day. But there's a few little dogs in neighbouring gardens. The chickens must be, it's drizzling a bit today, so they must be hiding out. Because sometimes when the dogs bark, the noisier chicken, which is Zonk, she sort of like makes a noise back as well. She likes to make herself heard. She's quite funny. So I'm not going to put a massive gap in between, but we want a little sort of gap. And the stitching of the die cuts definitely helps sort of define, because I'm doing white on white. So that helps define the shapes a little bit better as well. But I think you could really have some fun with this sort of idea of die cutting your inches first and then applying the shapes from the stencil and the icons. And you could also, like I said before in my other video, combine the original stencil with this Christmas one for even sort of more pattern options, and you could create some really fun layouts. So this one's probably turned out to be just as long as my other idea that I've got, that I thought would take a little bit longer. But as I say, I will share that one when I get back from my holidays. And I'm just sort of lining this up here, like so. And then I'm going to adhere this to my base. So I went ahead and I've found a piece of red from my bits box. I'm trying to use coloured bases and bits from my bit box before cutting into new sheets of card, unless I really need a specific colour for that I know won't be in the box. I know most of my colours in the box, what sort of colours are in there and what probably isn't in there. A lot of the bits are Stampin' Up colours, retired colours as well. Now when I started using Concord and 9th cardstock to match their inks, I've got it all organised in little sort of like pockets. So when I have offcuts, I am a lot better at putting the offcuts back in the pocket so I know what colour it is. But when I used Stampin' Up, I wasn't that organised. Or that sort of like disciplined, I should say. So let's have a look through the colours. I really need to restock. I've got Pimento. I have got one white enamel dot, which is big, and I've got the Poppy as well, which we used, so I'll use that. But I might add, trying to look, I have some Pebble, which is like the off-white, so I might use that for the centre of the gift. Though we could use the Poppy, smaller one. Let's have a look. So we'll put this on his bobble. See how his bobble, I didn't line it up. I should have done the outside of the square first. but it's a learning experience. Never mind. We'll put one on his nose, make his nose stand out a little bit. And I think I will use the pebble, just because the circle there is quite large inside where the ribbon is. So I've used all big enamel dots. We'll just press that down. And I think I'll leave it at that today. So that is my other idea of die cutting your inches before applying the patterns. And it's just another Christmas idea. So that was the original patchwork design, and we've got this new design, so something a little bit different. Again, thank you for joining me today as I share these ideas with you and waffle on. I will be back soon with more to share. Thank you for all the likes, subscribes, comments. They are much appreciated, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.